When I was younger, I used to think, oh, if my partner ever cheated on me, that'd be it. And now in my old age, I no longer believe that infidelity is the worst thing that can happen to a marriage. If you've got the stamina to stay in it and do the work, I truly believe you can have an even better marriage than you had the first time.
That's Nancy Pickard. Nancy is a certified coach, and she's joining me today to talk about the choice to stay in a marriage after one partner had an affair. I'm Tim Tedder, the host of this podcast and creator of AffairHealing.com. In this conversation, we're especially focusing on the injured partner's role in the decision to stay in a marriage. Early on, Nancy talks about something that comes early in the recovery process: getting answers to affair questions. It's a necessary step in the healing process. It's also where things can kind of go sideways on both sides of the relationship if it's not handled well. And that's exactly why I created the Truth Talk courses, one for the injured partners, one for involved partners. They're designed to help you talk about the truth in a way that supports healing. You can take the courses individually or together as a couple. Getting to the truth is a foundational step in the affair healing process, so I strongly encourage you to get help. I'll put a link to the courses in the episode notes. Now, let's talk about the decision to stay in your marriage after an affair.
Welcome to The Recovery Room, a podcast presented by AffairHealing.com.
In this healing place, in this healing place.
Nancy Pickard is a certified Relational Life Institute therapeutic coach who works with both individuals and couples, especially those standing at crossroads. She supports couples on the brink of divorce, as well as those simply wanting a deeper intimacy and stronger communication. With a long list of credentials, Nancy brings both range and depth to her work. She's also the author of the book Bigger, Better, Braver, a title that doubles nicely as a description of how she helps people live and how she approaches life herself. At 61, she took one of her boldest personal challenges, traveling solo through Southeast Asia and climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, which neatly captures her passion for helping others move out of fear and into fuller versions of themselves. Here's our conversation. As you and I talked, I was really interested maybe to explore a little bit more in regards to what do we say to the person that's been betrayed? I mean, they're not a passive participant in this healing either. There's work that they need to do. What are some of your thoughts around that?
It's interesting. I think that marriage is a co-creation. And so nobody lives in a vacuum. That doesn't mean that the betrayed doesn't feel that what the partner did was boundaryless and went outside what the other party would have done. But once that's said and done, there's work to be done on both sides. Let's work on that. Let's see what's on your side of the street, and let's see what is on their side of the street, and the co-creation of why maybe your relationship needed to implode so that you could heal from it, repair, and then your 2.0 relationship will look totally different than the 1.0 in a much healthier way.
What are some of the specific things that you would encourage someone who's been through this pain, who's been through betrayal, and now is looking at a broken marriage, a broken relationship, and instead of just saying, well, I hope the other person fixes what they broke, what are some of the things that they might need to consider, address, or work on in their life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the first steps are allowing the betrayed to ask all the questions. Mm-hmm. Because right now, the rug's been pulled out from underneath them. They don't know what's true, what's not true. They're rethinking their future, and they're also questioning well, gee, when you said you were here, where were you really? And when you told me you loved me, but you were still sleeping with somebody else, how could you tell me that? How can I ever trust that you love me? There's a lot of work that gets to be done with the betrayer and the betrayed together with a coach or a therapist. And the betrayed gets to ask every question they need to ask. And the betrayer needs to answer and be honest, and then I also believe that the betrayed gets to set up some boundaries. Well, yeah, I want access to your phone and I want access to your computer. There needs to be some safety measures for a agreed upon amount of time if you want to heal the relationship.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would hope in that scenario that the person that broke the trust would be the one that steps in and takes responsibility for that.
That's a pretty view, but it doesn't happen because the betrayed doesn't just give up their rights, right? They kind of do go a little kicking and screaming, like, really, you need that? They don't want to give up their rights.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may agree to it, but they don't offer it up.
I would agree with you at the beginning because none of us likes that sense of, oh, now I'm being controlled, giving up my freedom and so forth. I guess my only observation is that eventually, if that doesn't happen, if the person who is the one who betrayed is the one that's always kind of reluctantly, okay, tell me what I have to do, and that shift doesn't happen, I'm not saying that relationship is doomed or that they're bound to have another affair. I'm just saying those are the relationships that I look at 3 or 4 years down the road, and I don't see the healing that you'd wish would happen. They still seem kind of stuck because, again, it puts the one who's betrayed kind of in the role of, now I'm responsible for defining what needs to be the security of this relationship. So I'm agreeing with you at the beginning. It's rare that the person who did the betrayal steps in and says, hey, I'm taking charge here. But I do think that's something that, hey, take ownership of that. You need to take over responsibility for that and figure out why it's important for you to be open, to be vulnerable, and to protect the trust of your relationship. I just think healing happens a lot more securely when that transition takes place.
I agree. What I finally say to the betrayed is you have agency here.
Yeah.
And if you're choosing to take your partner back or keep your partner, then you put these things in place, and we're going to work on you and we're going to work on the relationship, and you're both going to get a clean slate because your partner can't stay in the doghouse for the rest of your life, because once you make that choice to stay, then you're abdicating keeping them in the doghouse for the rest of their life. You have agency.
Yeah.
You're making a decision. I want this partner. This partner has cheated on me, but I want to stay. And if you want to stay, which I'm in no means telling you not to, then let's dig down. Let's do the work so that the relationship 2.0 does not look like relationship 1.0.
Yeah, so I really like how you're saying that. If you choose to stay, because they could make the other choice. I mean, their choice could be, I'm out. I will never trust you again, or I can't get past this, or for whatever reason, they have the right to leave.
Right.
But if they're choosing to stay, then there's something that they carry a joint responsibility in rebuilding something again. There has to be this willingness to, okay, I'm going to let you out of the doghouse. I mean, that starts to sound a little bit to me like maybe forgiveness. Is that part of that process, do you think?
You know what it is? I think, yes, there's forgiveness, but more than forgiveness is recognizing you had a role in what happened. Listen, some guys just are cheaters, right? I mean, some women, some men are just cheaters. And so it's not really fair to say that the other person did something wrong to contribute. But generally, a marriage is in trouble. Or let's just say this. Let's not talk about the addicted sexual abuser.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about a marriage that really, it got stale, it got old. His or her needs were not being met. They weren't being seen and heard.
Okay. Yeah. Because that is definitely one of the ways in which affairs are kind of born out of
Exactly.
that vulnerability
Exactly.
of a marriage that's kind of become disconnected, disappointing, or whatever. So that's the
Right.
scenario we're talking about right now.
Yes, yes. But let's just say that I can show the couple how they each contributed, right? Well, you never really made your needs met. Like if you're an anxious attached person or conflict avoidant, and you never tell your partner what you need, but then you're unhappy and resentful and blow up, and the marriage is a mess. You have to take responsibility for that. And also the one who leads. If you are unhappy, how about we talk about it and we work on it first to see if you can get your needs met. You can learn vulnerability, intimacy, communication. And if you're both two ships sailing in opposite directions and one of you cheated, that's just what came out of the fact that you were already two ships sailing in different directions.
You often look at the person who's been betrayed and they want to stay in a relationship or in a marriage. But when that attitude is, yeah, but you had the affair, I didn't, that's your fault. And in a sense, I agree with that. I mean, the person that chose to betray, they're 100% responsible for that choice. They're, like you're saying, there were alternatives you could have taken and you didn't take that.
Right.
But you're also saying, yeah, but the context in which it happened in the scenario we're talking about is a context where there are already problems in the relationship. That wasn't one person's problem. That's both of their problems. And so the healing of that relationship is going to be something that they both participate in. So the one thing for the person who is betrayed, you've said, is that there needs to be this willingness to come into that arrangement with agreement. I'm not coming with the attitude, you're just going to stay in the doghouse. I mean, I'm a part of this process. I have to be part of fixing it too. What are some of the things that you would work with that individual or the couple together in figuring out how to address, what are some of the common things that come up?
Well, there's a number of things because sometimes, I don't know what the situation is, right? Sometimes there's real PTSD, like the other person lives in the same town and they might bump into them, or they might go someplace that the partner knows that their partner was with that person, So in those cases, you have to do some like somatic work, and you have to do some meditation and forgiveness work so that you actually learn how to regulate your own nervous system as it gets dysregulated, as it will. First of all, infidelity is not just sexual. I have couples that have gambling issues, and the partner thinks that as soon as the betrayer isn't where they said they were on any given moment, or, said you were going to return these things at the store and now I see them in your car. So where were you really? It brings up all kinds of things, even if it's totally innocent. Yeah. So there's all of those things that you still have to work on. And then you have to work on making sure that there's clear boundaries for both of you. There's clear how to communicate, how to get your needs met, how to be a listener and a speaker, how to do all of the different tools that I teach you so that communication stays open. Because if communication gets bogged down again, then, stuff's going to happen again. So you have to slowly gain trust back. The betrayed person has to become trustworthy. And yet you actually have to do your own work around agency, that I'm in it. I've chosen to stay in it. I'm going to forgive them, and I'm going to slowly learn how to trust again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask for what I need. I'm not going to swallow my feelings. I'm not going to swallow my needs. And I'm going to learn how to be relationally generous, and I'm going to learn how to receive and give, and all of the tools that we teach just in a relationship that didn't do well, even though nobody's cheated, are the same tools. They're all the same tools to try to heal what didn't happen in relationship 1.0.
You mentioned two things that are unique to betrayal: the forgiveness, and even though the other person has a responsibility to earn back trust, the person who's betrayed has to be willing to risk trusting them again. You talked about those things. And then on top of the foundation is these other things that were maybe missing or got off track in the relationship before, having to attend to those to build something that's Well, you use the term marriage 2.0, I think, or relationship 2.0. It's not just going back
Right.
to what you had before. It's something that's
No,
different from that.
No, it's absolutely, I do really well with getting both parties to recognize that this relationship needed a bomb and you got it. It needed it. It's exactly what you called in. And now let's make it better.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is probably hard for a lot of people who are betrayed to say, like, what? I didn't need this. My marriage didn't need this. It reminds me of the title of one book. The woman, after her husband's betrayal, wrote a book that said, my husband's affair was the best thing that ever happened to me. And at first they're going, what are you talking about? But I think she was talking about the same thing you are. Like, this is the change we needed. And too bad it took something, the bomb going off, but now we're left with, boy, this is all messed up. How do we build something new or something different than we had before?
I have found in my experience that the betrayed partner gets it. That they understand that they weren't an innocent bystander when the accident happened. And they're willing to do their side of the street. It's also hopeful. There's hope there that we are going to come out of the other side of this stronger than ever. And for that to happen, we both have to do our own side of the street work.
Now, Nancy, I want to ask you about something. So I know you wrote a book several years ago, Bigger, Better, Braver, I think is the one title of it. I don't have a copy of the book. I haven't read it, but I've kind of read, things you've said about it and trying to understand the message of the book. And I think you really spend time helping people understand what it means to experience a bigger version of themselves, not to be caught in the fear, those things that keep them hesitant, but to live out a bigger version of themselves. And not only do you write about it, I think you've lived it. You've done some things in your life that are the bigger and braver choices that have made life fuller for you. How do you take that message of your book, the message you've tried to live out, and encourage them with something like that? Is it really reasonable to say to them, there's an opportunity here for something even better, a better story to tell? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, the bigger, better, braver is moving beyond your comfort zone, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and choosing you, like saying yes to you. So this is an opportunity for you to grow, for you to have compassion, for you to heal, for you to forgive, and for you to fix what wasn't working for your partner and for you. Like, you both can do that. So being bigger, better, braver in this instant is saying, you know what? It actually, on some levels, would be easier if I just said, screw you, you're out of here, pack your bags and go. I'm going to do the bigger, better, braver thing to stay and hope that my marriage is going to actually get bigger, better by my being braver.
Yeah.
And by looking at what's not working and not just being the victim in my story. So bigger, better, braver is all about getting out of the victim mode to make other choices for yourself. And it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key there. I mean, getting out of the victim mode. Sometimes when you see people stuck years down the road and you hear them talk and you see how they're living, I mean, it's easy to conclude, oh, you're still a victim. You see yourself as a victim in this. That needs to change, or else our story is going to be just kind of sad, I think, for the rest of our life.
Yeah. Or I'll hear them tell a story. There'll be new clients of mine. They'll be telling me a story and I'll be like, wow. And when did that happen? 20 years ago. And I'm saying, you gotta let that one go. Like, nobody is the same person they were 20 years ago. If you're still holding on to that, you're still back there. So where's your growth been in the last 20 years? If you're still, that's the story you're still talking about. You're wearing it like a backpack with 100 pounds on it and trying to hike up a mountain. You're not going to move.
If someone's listening to this, either as an individual, someone who's been betrayed, or maybe a couple, and they like what you're saying, and they're saying, yeah, I need to hear more of that, or I need to figure that out. How do I live that bigger, better life? How do I work through this disaster and actually embrace it as an opportunity for the kind of change I need in my life, or to work on that marriage 2.0? What are the opportunities that you provide for people like that?
Well, I coach one-on-one and I coach couples and I do weekend boot camps that are, I'm a relational life therapy coach from Terry Real. I teach courses on just the relationship skills. That's what you learn in the boot camp. And I do those online as well in groups of like 20 and less people over a 10-week period. All of those give you the skills without the deep inner dive to your inner child wounds that actually contribute to your relationship and why you do the losing strategies you do. So if you sort of have a good enough relationship, but you want to make it better, any of the skill work is going to get you there. If you have deeper work that lots of people will say, my partner was abused, or my partner had a horrific childhood, or I had a horrific childhood, and those traumas are coming up in your marriage, then I suggest the one-on-one, well, it's actually 2-on-1 with me.
That's virtual work that you do through online video.
Mm-hmm.
Are the boot camps in person, or is that virtual?
The boot camps are in person.
Okay.
Sometimes I do an online boot camp, but I've switched now to the 10 weeks. But I also have people that will come to my home and we'll do, a whole half day or 2 full days and sort of just like knock it out, instead of once a week for 6 months, they're going to come and we're really going to make some movement in a closed setting. And that works too.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, or?
Well, actually follow me on social media. So Nancy Pickard, Life Coach. I'd love people to follow me. And I give away a lot of what I do are in my reels and in my posts. So I try to be generous with the information so you get the help without ever having to come to me. It's a lot cheaper.
Links to Nancy's resources are included in the episode notes, so please check out what she has to offer. And be sure to listen to the next episode, where I'll invite another guest to talk about deciding to stay in the marriage, with a focus on what the involved partner needs to do.